Let's unbox the Hot Wheels Starships Select New Republic E-Wing Fighter. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino. It's the weekend here in New Zealand and you know what that means? Checking out our local toy stores for new Star Wars toys. And we had an exciting find, the new wave of Hot Wheels Starship Select Star Wars vehicles. We picked up 3 from the new wave, the original trilogy AT-ST, the New Republic E-Wing Fighter and the prototype Imperial Shuttle. Of course, I'm excited to open up all 3 as soon as I can here on the channel, but for today I've decided to open up the New Republic E-Wing Fighter. This is from the Ahsoka series. I absolutely love that show and I really like this unique style. It's quite different to most of the other vehicles I have on my shelf. So I'm really excited to open that one up today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Coming up really soon, I'll take a closer look at the vehicle out of the packaging, get it on its display stand and all of that fun stuff. But first, let's take one last look at the packaging. I really like the packaging style that Mattel uses for the Star Wars Hot Wheels Starships Select line. It's been consistent ever since that first wave, which is fantastic if you like to keep yours in the packaging. They line up fantastic. Everything's the same. They look really cool. And I think especially this E-Wing Fighter is a really good candidate if you want to keep yours boxed. It is a very pale colored ship, which does help make it stand out against the dark insert cardboard there behind the ship. Because of course we don't have a top window. We've got this lovely big window here in the front, which does wrap around on both of the sides to let in a little bit of extra light. And I really like the position of this one flying up towards the upper right here with a nice top-down view of all of the ship details. We can even see that tiny little astromech there on the top. We have the Mattel logo here on the front. We have the Hot Wheels Starship Select logo down here on the right and the name of the ship underneath the window, the New Republic E-Wing Fighter. On the top, of course, we don't have a window to let in light, but we do have some fun printed graphics. We have a top-down black and white blueprint style image here of the E-Wing Fighter, and we have the faction symbol here in red, the New Republic. And on the top cardboard hanger here, we can see that this is numbered number 30 in the line, and we have the ship name there, New Republic E-Wing Fighter there as well. Moving on to the back, we have a nice image here of the ship on the included display stand. We can see that we can rotate it around 360 degrees, and we can see some of the other ships included in this most recent assortment. Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, A-Wing Fighter, AT-ST, and the prototype version of the Imperial Shuttle. Fantastic lineup, even though a couple of these are reissues. Great opportunity for fans that missed out on their original release. The rest of the packaging is just sort of copyright, barcode text, all of that kind of stuff. Overall, it looks really nice, especially that pale color there against the black. But I do open up my Hot Wheels Starship Select vehicles and get them on their display stands, so let's get stuck into that. So now I have the E-Wing Fighter and the box containing the display stand out of the packaging. I'm really excited, it looks really cool. But first I just want to quickly show the cardboard background that was inside behind the vehicle. As usual, we've got a really fun black and white blueprint style artwork here of the ships included in this particular assortment. We can see the Imperial Shuttle, the AT-ST, Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, A-Wing, really fun. And you can cut this out and keep the background piece here if you want to get rid of the rest of your packaging. I always just think it's a fun little memento of some of the classic Star Wars ships that were included in this assortment. But of course, I'm excited to finally get my hands on the New Republic E-Wing Fighter. I have to say, it's always fun to really sort of get a feel of the ship outside the packaging, because of course they are metal, die-cast metal vehicles, and they all have sort of an interesting weight to them. I have to say, this is one of the lighter ones that I have held. Of course, the E-Wing has a very slender body, and on the underside it kind of has a bit of a scoop out shape here, so there isn't actually too much metal mass to it. And of course, for safety reasons, we do have a few plastic components. The wingtip laser cannons here are plastic. We can just see the seam line here at the end of the wing. The wing is metal, so we've just got these little sort of pointed parts here as plastic for safety reasons, so that no child gets hurt playing with their new Star Wars toy. I have to say though, it is actually fairly robust. When I think back to the laser cannons on the original trilogy X-Wing in that first assortment, they were quite rubbery. And in fact, some of them kind of have a little bit of a permanent bend because they're just a little bit more, dare I say, floppy compared to the slightly more sort of brittle, sort of sturdier plastic. So these ones are nice and robust. If I try and wiggle them, you can see I can just get a little bit of a bend going, but I feel like these would probably snap rather than bend completely if they were rammed into an object, or dare I say, a sibling. They do have a bit of a pointed end that does feel actually kind of scratchy because of the harder plastic used, but of course plastic is still going to be a whole lot less dangerous than a metal spike here. There aren't any moving components on this E-Wing. Of course, X-Wings have something that opens and closes. Some Starships have moving components. This one is a solid piece here. I think it's really interesting that these main engines here are fully sculpted as well. They look like they might have been assembled. I think I can see a little bit of a join there on the underside. So we've got a really nice clear definition there, a bit of an undercut, which is really nice. And of course, this fantastic paint job. I love the surface detail. Feels very original trilogy inspired here. Of course, they're sort of very closely aligned to the original trilogy X-Wing in terms of just the style of it. And we've got a lot of that sort of surface detail here as well. And as usual, we've got some fantastic weathering. Now, I did have the opportunity to see two of these on the store shelf, so I was able to compare them side by side. And I have to say, I was quite surprised that the weathering was very different between the two. I decided to go with this one. This one was a lot lighter in terms of the weathering. The other one that I left behind had much darker pools of grey toned weathering in around the main body, in particular these areas here. I liked just the overall slightly lighter touch of the weathering on this one. That isn't to say I don't like heavy weathering, but I just felt the lighter tone color over all of this ship just worked a little bit better with a slightly lighter hand with the weathering here. I really like the blue tone here. Something about blue always makes me think of the light side and the Republic. It's just a really nice color here. And of course, because we've got sort of heavy weathering, if you happen to unfortunately get one with a slight sort of little paint flaw, a little bit of a mishap, it just looks like battle damage weathering. Because this gray weathering is over top the blue paint, I think it would do a pretty good job of disguising any little paint mishaps. Because of course we've got all of the surface detail, we can see that the paint lines are really supposed to match up to that surface detail in places, like we can see here on the nose, but it does, the overall weathering does really sort of cover up any little mishaps here. You can see on this side we have a little bit more, slightly more weathering compared to on the wing over this side. And it was packaged this way, so you can see if it was heavy here, it was much heavier on the one I left behind. But again, it's just kind of personal preference here. I kind of like that it is just a little bit different on either side. You know, weathering wouldn't be perfectly symmetrical in the real world. We can see we've got a little bit more of sort of almost like little blast sort of lines on the side, and this one's just kind of a little bit more swept there as well. Really cool. I love the shape of it. I like seeing that everything looks straight and aligned. Of course, I haven't really come across sort of pieces that have been misattached, you know, where the glue has kind of fixed and these pieces are misaligned. We can see how straight these attached pieces are in relation to that main body. Really nice and straight and upright there, looking fantastic. And we can see the tiny little astromech piece that we have here. So this one is part of the main body sculpt, which means it is metal. It's fully sculpted in there. We can see that we have a little bit of the weathering kind of coming up around the base of that silver astromech head, because of course that would be very, very hard to get that tidily. So we can just make out a little bit of weathering around the base of the head. And it's like it's a green color for the dome details, which does kind of help it stand out against the blue here. Of course, they're not going to be perfectly matching there, but some fantastic, tidy little dome paint details there. Just absolutely fantastic. No paint detail here on the eye. that is just straight silver along with the rest of the body there. But of course, we also have the gloss black paint used for the cockpit window details, because of course, being full metal, we don't have clear translucent cockpit windows, and they do not open. There are no figures on the inside, so it doesn't need to be clear. We don't need to see inside, and honestly, I don't really miss it. I know some of the vintage die-cast vehicles had plastic cockpits with little figures sort of permanently sculpted on the inside, but for me, these are display pieces. I don't need the extra sort of fuss of a little sculpted figure, and I really like just the smooth, sleek design of these black painted cockpit windows. I know it works really, really well on TIE fighters. Perhaps it is a little bit more of a cheat on the ones that would have much more clearer, visible windows on like X-Wings and that, where you can kind of see through to that vibrant orange of their flight suits for the X-Wing pilots. But I really do like the sort of the sleek black. It kind of makes me think of like artwork, like comic artwork or something like that. Just absolutely admiring the sculpting of this. I love the shape of it. It looks like it goes fast and is ready to attack with all of this sort of weaponry here on the wings. Really nice. Loving the weathering. You see images of these ones online, but it is just really exciting to sort of see them well lit in person. Loving that blue color too. Really nice. Very, very cool. And looking at the underside, we've got more weathering here, of course. Asymmetrical, like we would expect there. We can see that we have two rivet points where the top and bottom of the ship are going to be attached together, and we have the little plastic insert tucked away on there, which is where we're going to attach it to the display stand very shortly there. But just wanted to sort of have a really good look at the sculpting detail. You know, we're not really going to see too much of the underside of the ship once it's on the display stand, but I like that they don't really skimp here. We've got all of this fantastic sculpting lines, including on these engines, just fantastic. We've even got some blue accent painting here on the underside. Really nice weathering. So on the back, we've got some light blue here for the back of the engines, just tucked away there. Really nice. We've got a little bit of dark mid-gray, just kind of painting here around those engines there. Just kind of really helps tidy them up, so we haven't got weathering going all the way close to that pale blue. Looks really nice. And then we've got the back end there, some nice detail. You can kind of see where the top and bottom are attached. We've got that really nicely hidden little seam line there just above, sort of at the back there. Really nice. So cool. I've been waiting for this one since it was announced. Really excited. It looks fantastic. Okay, now of course it doesn't have landing gear. The Hot Wheels Starship Select line are designed to go on flight stands. So let's get that one fully assembled. Okay, so here's the cardboard box. We can see that it comes in two pieces. I love these stands. They snap together really well. They always fit on the vehicles, you know, without too much fuss here. So, okay, we've got the two pieces inside. Okay, this stand, we can see that we have that ball-shaped attachment point there. Nice sort of sloped, curved attachment piece there, and wrapped up in tissue paper to preserve the print, we have the base plate there. So of course we have the New Republic faction symbol here in a fantastic metallic silver paint, and because New Republic E-Wing Fighter is a little bit long, we simply have E-Wing Fighter here. That fits. It's going to look really nice alongside X-Wing Fighter, of course. It just looks really cool. I have really not ever found one. I think I had one that had a small little flaw to the silver printing. I really like just the sleek black that they use across the line. Of course, the prototype ships are the exception. They have a unique white base, but it's really fun. I like how uniform all of the stands are across the line. And on the front edge there, we have the Star Wars logo stamped in. And over here, very small, we have the Hot Wheels logo here as well, with that sort of a flame-shaped design there. So let's get this assembled. It always snaps together really nicely. There we go, nice click sound, and let's get the ship on the display stand. So a little bit of a gentle push just on there. It doesn't really snap with a sound, just kind of wriggles on until it feels like it's really bedded on like that. Okay, so We can see they do really hold on well. This is a metal ship. You don't want it falling off, hurting someone's foot. I love the shape of these. We've got that fantastic slope, so it looks like it's sort of giving it forward momentum there. I'll just get the box out of the way. And of course, with that ball attachment point, we can rotate it around. Now, some ships, because of the shape of the wings and other components there, sometimes you can't spin them all the way around, like it does say on the box, but this one's on a fairly sort of horizontal plane there, so we can turn it all the way around without the wings or any other piece of the ship knocking into this display stand. We've got a nice level of clearance around here, and of course we can get some really cool angles front and down. I like the ability to really adjust. Sometimes you kind of, maybe you're posing a bit of a dogfight between your ships on your display space. Maybe you need to sort of adjust it to fit it in amongst all your other ships, and sometimes I find, particularly with some of the Star Wars ships, you've just got fantastic surface detail, so I like pointing it down a little bit so I can see that top surface rather than looking at ships a little bit more front on. You kind of miss some of the detail there, so I like having them tipped front. And of course, the balance on these stands is just fantastic. That is as tipped forward as I can go. So you can see it there, and I'm absolutely not worried at all. It's sturdy, very steady. So that's a little bit of a steep angle. I'm probably going to do something like this, but I like that you can, maybe you want to pose it towards this side to see the wings there. Really, really cool. And I love just having that little bit extra there with the name of the ship. Really nice. So I've got a couple of other Hot Wheels Starship Select vehicles on hand to do just a little bit of a comparison here, because I thought it'd be fun to compare. So I have here the original first release of the classic sort of Luke Skywalker's X-Wing fighter. So this one, of course, we had that sort of earlier generation rubbery laser cannons. You can see just how bendy these ones are. And unfortunately, this one here at the front is just a little bit sort of twisted, and it's not quite dead straight. So I do tend to sort of look at this one a little bit more from the front. But something that I found in sort of later releases is that they tweaked, just very, very carefully, they tweaked the height of the display stands. I found that the very first X-Wing and TIE Fighter stands have been a little bit shorter. So we can see that we have the sort of Resistance era X-Wing, and the stands between these two are different. I thought they would be the same, but at some point Mattel thought that they wanted slightly taller stands. So the newer generation have these taller stands. This one, despite being Resistance, just has X-Wing Fighter on it because they couldn't fit Resistance on it. But we can see when we put these two back to back, this one is taller. So I know that the X-Wings are not exactly the same as the E-Wings, but because they're kind of similar, I thought I wanted to see. It looks like we have got the newer, taller stand with this one. So you can see those two there, the same sort of shape, looking fantastic. But of course, that does mean, if I just pop this one out of the way, that if you want to have these two together, the original X-Wing is going to be slightly shorter. Now, I know there are some latter X-Wings, some slightly different paint jobs, and they will, sadly, I don't have them in my collection to do a direct comparison, but I am assuming that they will have the slightly taller stand. I'm still trying to fill out those last few gaps in my collection. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky being an international fan. Not everything makes it to me here in New Zealand, but these look fantastic. They're really sort of old school original trilogy coded, even though this one does appear in sort of the new canon in Ahsoka. It is actually quite an old design. If you are unfamiliar with the E-Wing, prior to the Ahsoka series, it first appeared in issue 3 of the Dark Empire comic that was released by Dark Horse Comics in 1992, illustrated by the fantastically talented Cam Kennedy. It is a really cool ship that actually has a bit more of a history than you might be aware of, and it's really cool to see an old school in 90s era design being introduced into the new Star Wars canon. And it's really exciting to see that we now have merchandise from this classic ship. You know, a lot of those old school, now sort of deemed expanded universe or legends ships, there were some fantastic ship designs that came out in that sort of old school expanded universe design. But because there is less sort of involvement with the expanded universe in terms of merchandising these days, we don't often get some cool replicas of those old school ships. So it's exciting to see some of those older designs being brought into the new Disney Plus era. So that means we get fantastic ships of those designs. So if you are a fan of the E-Wing fighter from that Dark Empire comic, you can now get this fantastic Hot Wheels die-cast version of it. Of course, the base says New Republic. That's a little bit different to how it appears in the comic. And of course, there are a few subtle differences with the weaponry on the ship, but it is fantastic. And it does bear a lot of similarities to the original X-Wing fighter, but you can see just how different they look when we get them side by side. I really like the blue and light grey, very different to the more sort of creamy beige warm tones of this X-Wing. Of course, Luke and the Rebellion have a lot of sort of orange and red tones. The New Republic I think of as being more sort of white and blue. They look really cool together though, don't they? I was about to do a video showing off my whole Hot Wheels Starship Select collection, and then I found new ones arriving here in New Zealand, so I'm going to have to wait till I open up my 3 new purchases and add them to my collection before I can do a full collection video. But I'm really excited to see them all together. I love this line. I love the fact they all come with display stands. It just gives it a really nice uniform look for the display. And the price point is just fantastic. Here in New Zealand, they retail for 30 New Zealand dollars, but you can often find them on sale as well. They don't take up a lot of space on your shelf. They're just perfect. Sometimes you just want the iconic ships like an X-Wing, and sometimes maybe you're like me and you want to be completionist and try and collect them all. I'm really happy with this E-Wing. It looks fantastic. It's so unique and so different to a lot of the other ships. I'm really excited to see that it's finally here in New Zealand and I could add it to my collection. Really, really cool. I just had a lot of fun with this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another fantastic Hot Wheels Select Starship vehicle there and had a lot of fun at checking out all of those fantastic details. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Hot Wheels Starship Select fan, I've recently unboxed the Darth Vader's TIE Advanced. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as a whole Hot Wheels Starship Select unboxing playlist. This is the way.